Welcome to Friends with Deficits. I'm your host, Adam Sultan, and my next friend is Heath Allyn. Heath is a multi-instrumentalist, tribute band luminary, and an actor here in Austin, Texas. And I recently had a chance to sit down with him and discuss his successes, excesses, misses, muses, and other musings. So join me for my conversation with Heath Allyn. Hey Heath, what's up?
Yeah, not much, man. How's it going?
Good. What are you working on lately?
I've just been cramming so much music into my head because, I'm sure the same thing probably happens to you where like it's always everything hits at once. It's never like a nice steady stream. It's always like 5 projects you got to be working on and then there'll be like a desert of nothing. But several of them just passed, so I'm breathing a little easier now. We had a one-off show where we played all of this year's Model by Elvis Costello, as
Are
well
you
as
kidding me? And I wasn't invited and I didn't get to sing? Oh, man.
It was the Late Joys is kind of Robbie Polgar's project.
Oh, yeah.
And because we also did a set of his originals. And then I just last week guest saxophoned with Skyrocket playing with Jack Hughes of Wang Chung for dance hall days. And
wow.
And then we're getting this new Beatles tribute band off the ground, so that's ramping up. It's a brand new band called Fab. We don't look like them, obviously, or we're not like impersonators.
Right.
But we try to stick to the roles. We're like, I sing Paul songs, I play bass, and then like I'll go play piano on Hey Jude and Oh Darling and stuff like that. So kind of trying to keep the roles just because it's fun when you see a band like that. Where it's like, oh, that guy does all the Lennon stuff, and that guy does. We're kind of generally going to try to keep to like a late 60s look. Our sort of concept for Fab is like if the Beatles had stuck together and kept playing.
Yeah, interesting.
So sort of dressing in that towards the end of their career kind of way and playing stuff from the whole catalog, early, late, everything. But at the same time, like we're not, obviously I don't look anything like Paul McCartney and I don't play left-handed. I could go on for hours about the Beatles, but they're my favorite band. But
let me ask this challenging Beatles question. I assume, you've been a fan for decades.
Lifelong. My mom was a big Beatles fan.
So is there ever a time where you're just like, I can see why some people would just think this is just, obviously they're great, but maybe they're not the greatest because they borrowed from a lot of people and there's a lot of other great bands out there. Like, does it ever even cross your mind?
It does. It does. Because obviously I've seen people who, or who say exactly what you're like, I don't really see what the big deal about the Beatles is. I think they're overrated or whatever. And I get it because one of my sort of big hot buttons is snobbery. I can't stand snobbery. And it's so prevalent in music, where people want to be like, oh, you like that band? Pfft, you got crap taste or whatever. And I've had this argument. I think that music is 100% subjective. I do not think there is such a thing as as objectively good music or bad music, because there could be a song that moves you to tears and does nothing for me. And I go, I don't like that song at all, man, because it's subjective. It's just like, you can analyze it technically if you wanted to, I guess, and like, oh, that guy plays really well and it's complex musically, but that still doesn't necessarily mean it's good music or bad music. Or the same way with like, a lot of people who would say like, the Ramones is not good music. Oh, it's just 3 chords and it was recorded crappily and it sounds, but it's like, and yet still lots of people, there's something about it. It's the music moves you. So no, I get it. Like, obviously I don't get it. My mind can't conceive of not loving the Beatles, but if somebody else doesn't, I totally get that. And I'm not like, what, you're crazy, you got no taste. I'm like, that's you know what? Well, for whatever reason, it doesn't resonate with your soul.
All right, Beatles. Okay. And then musical history. We covered those. What about history? Like, I haven't heard much about your life.
Well, I was born to a mother in theater. So that's how and who was also a Beatles lover. So she kind of set the foundations for me being an actor and a musician. Again, her being a single mom, if she was doing a play, that I'd go with her to rehearsals, and some nights I'd be like, "Can we go home now? It's 10 and I'm tired." And she's like, "Well, rehearsal's not done yet." But and then I made my first stage appearance at the age of 11 in a production of Beckett, I believe it was, as just some child who's in the play, very minor, sitting on the floor playing a game with another kid, and we have an argument or something. I can't remember. So long ago. But yeah, so that's where I first got the theater acting bug, was all because of her.
Did that come before the music bug?
I think, honestly, they came about the same time, because from the age of 5 on, I was in a real unconventional household. Like me and her lived in apartments up till then, but at the age of, I think it was the age of 5, I believe, we moved in with her mom in her house, and then her youngest brother, who was he might have only been like 4 years older, maybe more than that, I can't remember. But so from 5 till probably 18, we were in this house where there was my mom, my grandmother, and then my youngest uncle, Jim, who was the person who actually taught me my first guitar chords. And he had a bunch of musician friends who would come over and play guitar and jam and stuff. So there's a lot of influences around that led me that direction. But and she sang. My mom sings as well, but she never did it professionally or anything. She liked to do. She would do a lot of those like hotel bistro gigs with, like, she'd have a friend who plays piano and sings at the Ramada Inn, and she'd go down and sing harmony and sing lead on a few songs herself and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of ever present. Like I said, I know my first acting, I think, was at 11, and I think I started playing guitar and piano at around 12. So it was all somewhere in the vicinity of the same time. And my dad, I think he split when I was about 3. So like I don't have any. We were friends throughout my whole life, but I don't have any memories of him in my life actively, like having 2 parents. So
did they divorce, or was he'd abandoned you? Or
yeah, no, they divorced. They were married.
Okay.
They got married super young, and like they had me when he was 18 and she was 17, I think. And then they got divorced about 3 years after I was born, I believe. I was in touch with him, and we were close till he died. But I was raised by a single mom, which I always give her just the hugest amount of credit for that, because now I look back and remember all the stuff she did. Like looking back now, I realize, oh, we were probably on the poor side of things, but I never felt that growing up. We had Christmas presents, we had food on the table. Mom would be working at 3C barbecue to put food on the table or whatever. But the biggest thing that I credit her for all the time is she let me be super independent from the earliest age. And I think that's kind of a two-way relationship. And then I think that's because I was also a good kid and I didn't get in trouble. So she probably gave me a long leash because I never abused it and then got in trouble. But, I can distinctly remember, like, when I'd have friends, over to spend the night or whatever, or we'd all go out and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I gotta be home by 10." And I'd be like, "What is this dictatorship you live under?" My mom was like, "Do whatever you want, as long as you leave me a note, let me know you're alive, or if I'm gonna be out late or whatever, just so I don't worry if you're not home till 4 a.m. or whatever." She always let me find my own way. I didn't go to college. I don't remember her ever saying anything about that, as far as like, "You sure about that? You probably need to go to college." And so yeah, I always felt supported and yet totally free. So I never had like a rebellious streak, or because I never had nothing to rebel against. She gave me the freedom to find my own way and become my own person, but was completely supportive and loving the whole way of anything I wanted to do.
Did your friends envy you or try to pull you over to the the less responsible side?
I don't think so. I think because I tended to, attract like-minded friends. We were all geeks who we like to sit around playing Dungeons and Dragons and video games or music. It's like I didn't hang out with like a bunch of partiers. I mean, I had friends obviously that like smoked marijuana and stuff, but I feel like dope. Dope. Listen to me. So,
I thought it was funnier that you said marijuana.
Yeah, it was funny because I was thinking about it. I was like trying to be like, weed, marijuana? And like everything I say just sounds weird coming out of my mouth.
The stuff.
The junk, buddy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's omnipresent, but for some reason I never wanted to do it. And it was never like a moral thing. It was never like, ooh, that's wrong or anything like that. There might have been an element of I have kind of always been a rule follower. So part of me is probably like, that's illegal, but I'd still hang out with people. Mm-hmm. But I had this weird thing from the youngest age where I liked my brain and the way it worked, and I kind of didn't want to mess with that. And that's as simple as it was. So it wasn't like moral. It was just more like, no, you know what? I'm good. I appreciate my brain and its weird creativity, and I don't really want to jack with that chemistry.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same with the reason I've never really drank is just because me and alcohol don't get along. Like the few times I have been drunk have been highly unpleasant, fire hose vomiting drunk. And so, after a couple of those, I'm like, I think I'm good.
Oh, it's the third one that makes it okay.
Well, it's also like I don't like the taste of alcohol. Mm-hmm. So there's a point where it's like, why am I drinking this stuff I don't like? And I don't like the way it makes me feel. I'd be better off just going and having a chocolate milk, which I really enjoy. And even now, like, I find myself if I gravitate towards any kind of alcohol, it's always like what I call adult desserts, where it's like a strawberry daiquiri or some kind of chocolate martini or something.
Right.
But I'm kind of glad I don't like it because I don't have good willpower. So I've always felt like if I liked alcohol, that I would probably be dead or like a 400-pound alcoholic because I'm not good with moderation. So it's a good thing I don't like it, or we don't get along.
Yeah.
Since I don't drink, I don't do drugs of any kind. I sort of feel like food is. I've jokingly said, and I don't mean this in any kind of disrespectful way because I love this guy immensely, but I've jokingly called myself the Scott Weiland of food because I feel like it's a drug I can't kick. And have no willpower with. I remember, like when my dad was alive, he could get a pack of those, like those little waxy chocolate little Debbie donuts that come in a 6-pack, mini donuts. He could get a 6-pack of those and then eat 2 of them and then put the rest away for tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'll get a grab and go bag of those things and put them all away in one sitting, right. Or I'll get a package of cookies and just demolish the whole package of cookies. Large pizza, no problem. That's a meal.
Is that constantly, or is it just once in a while you binge on stuff?
Well, I try not to make it constantly, just because it's a constant battle with my, trying to maintain some kind of health and vanity. But it's a constant battle because I don't naturally lean toward any thing healthy, really. If health were not a concern, I'd just be eating pizza and burgers and fries and ice cream every day, all the time, every meal.
Same. Do you have health issues though, either as a result of that or just
no? I'm super lucky, and that's another reason why. I'm 54 now, and every year I think man, you need to turn this around before it's a problem. I don't want to be one of those people who has to have a heart attack and then go well, now you got to turn it around or you're going to die,
Right.
Because, I've known those people who had bad habits and they have a heart attack and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, now I eat salads and because I have to. And so I've been really lucky in that I'm not on any medications. I don't, have any issues that, my blood pressure is always on the low side of normal. And so I keep telling myself I need to use that luck and get it under control before it becomes an issue. And I just keep not doing it. And I've been there before. The thing is, my journey with it's a weird roller coaster journey of weight and food. Like up till I was probably 18 or so, I was like rail skinny, 30-inch waist, little skin and bones kid. And then 18, I think a combination of factors. One, started driving, or wasn't walking as much, wasn't active, had my own money to, go and buy whatever I want. If I want to go to Wendy's every meal, I can do it. And then, so over a period of time, it's weird because when I look back, this was weird. I didn't notice it happening. There was just one day when I went to like a costume fitting for a commercial or something, and they were taking my measurements. We're like, okay, yeah, 40-inch waist. I was like, what at 40? How did that? When I was a 30-inch waist. Wow, how did this happen? And then, over the years, there's always fads. I remember when there was all the low fat fad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, stay away from fat. And then it became the low carb thing. No, stay away from carbs.
Right.
But in somewhere around 2005 or 6, I was married to a vegetarian at the time, and I read the book about the South Beach diet.
Uh-huh.
And it was the first thing that made sense to me because even though it's packaged as the South Beach diet, this trendy name, the actual information therein was just simply, here is how your body processes the things you put in it. And here's why you want to eat more of this and more proteins and more whole foods and less sugars and processed, and so it was like, as a very analytically minded person in a lot of ways and who loves science and stuff, I was like, oh, this all just makes sense. And so we started kind of eating according to that. And over about 6 months, I dropped 60 pounds and got into the best shape I've ever been in. And this isn't even about, even though obviously there's a huge vanity factor in that I don't hate the way I look. I want to look better, but more than that, I remember like when I got down to where my body was happy, I just felt it. I was like, oh, hey man, things move right now. And I don't, it just felt, I could feel my body functioning correctly. And I was like, well, this is nice. And then over the years, just old habits crept back in, got divorced, and it was, it was obvious it was a lot easier when she was there and she was vegetarian, like I said. So a lot of times I'm not vegetarian, but I don't need meat. So, everything she would fix would be vegetarian, and I was fine with that. But then, once I was single again and just eating out all the time, and it's so weird now because I'm like, I've been there before. So I know it's possible, I know I've literally been there, but I can't find my way back there. And it's the biggest daily struggle that I deal with, both physically and mentally. It's like just constantly on my mind. And this says a lot about what a lucky life I have, is it's the biggest source of stress in my life is just my health and my appearance.
That's funny because I don't see you as like a very heavy-set person or having issues with that, and you're confident as a performer and all those things. I mean, that can, whatever, maybe on stage only. But,
exactly, yeah. That's one of the places it's easier to forget about it because I'm doing what I love. But it does make performing on stage harder because there is a part of me that like just doesn't want to be perceived, where I'm like, oh God, man, I don't want people to see me like this. And I know that there's a huge amount of body dysmorphia there too, which I know because when I was in my prime, I was doing hot yoga 3 to 5 times a week, and I was down to 175. I'm 5'10". I had people I remember the first time someone described me as skinny, and I was like, what? Me? You just called me skinny? And so I remember someone else was like, yeah, you've got that typical like sort of Austin cyclist physique. And I was like, what? What are you talking about?
Wait, so have you always had a sort of body dysmorphia that you mentioned?
I think, yeah. I think ever since I didn't when I was younger, but I think ever since I first gained all the weight. Since then I have, because I distinctly remember when I was 175, still looking in the mirror and like being happy, but also being like, oh, I could still, I'm still a little flabby around there. I could still lose a little down there. And now, like when I look at the pictures from that time, I go, that is not what I saw. I see those pictures now and I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to look like that again. But it's so weird because when I was that, that's not what I saw. I didn't see myself like that. I still, I was happy. So I wasn't obsessed. It wasn't a source of stress and unhappiness.
Well, it sounds like also you were perceived by most people as normal weight or whatever, as opposed to anorexic or something, ultra skinny.
Yeah.
Or
oh no, yeah, I was never that.
Like you weren't doing anything unhealthy. You just thought that you were more on and you weren't trying to get off more weight.
I mean, just still a little bit. I was like, I could still go a little, but it wasn't. I mean, I definitely knew I was in a good place for my body.
Yeah.
And that's something I always like to stress too, is there's no universal scale. People, that's why, of course, I think that BMI is just utter. Can we curse on your podcast?
Fuck yeah.
BMI is just utter bullshit. It's because it's strictly weight versus height. And the thing is, anyone would tell you, muscle weighs more than fat.
Right.
So if you're really muscular at 5'10", then you're probably going to be obese by BMI standards because your weight is going to be too high for your. So it's just BMI is bullshit. And obviously that is just, there's no one size fits all. Some bodies just tend heavier or lighter.
Yeah.
You can look on the heavier side and still be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like right now, I think I look on the heavier side, but still, according to my physical, I have no issues. My cholesterol is not a problem. It could come down a little bit. It's on the high side of normal, but I'm not on any meds or anything for it. As a matter of fact, I just saw my doctor last week for something else, and he said, your cholesterol is a little high, but your good cholesterol is really high, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that. But yeah, so it's tricky, man. It's society brainwashes us all.
You think?
To feel really bad about ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a struggle. I mean, I have a very strong mindfulness practice. I do, transcendental meditation twice a day. I've for a long time been on like an Eckhart Tolle kick, just constantly trying to improve myself. But even with all that, the plus is, like, every therapist I've ever seen has been like, wow, you are one of the most self-aware people I've ever seen.
I was just going to say that too. But just say you have a lot of self-awareness,
Yeah. And it's so weird though, because even that, it doesn't stop the self-loathing, Like I still have these mean voices that are like, you're a fucking piece of shit. I'm like, hey man, that's not cool. And I'm aware enough of it to be like, come on, man, you should feel very lucky that you have a functional body, you have all your faculties, and you're not on medications, and you're not in danger of heart disease and stuff. But there's still that part of you that wants to look good. It wants to be, skinny and in shape and hot or whatever.
Is it transitory? Like sometimes you feel like, okay, I've relaxed now, I'm not so hard on myself, or is it just always some nagging voice?
Pretty constant. Obviously, I know intellectually that I'm not a repulsive troll that no one could ever love. I have had, relationships with wonderful, awesome women who very convincingly said they found me very attractive, and I've been hit on by people. So, there's evidence to counter all these things. And yet there is legitimately a part of my brain that cannot fathom that anyone could find me physically attractive. And the counter to that is like, oh, I totally think somebody could, love my brain, my heart, my soul, my talent. And when you are attracted to a person, that does, at least for me, and I think for most people would say this, that does affect how you physically perceive them. You know, you might, like if you just saw them and didn't know them, you might not have gone like, oh man, they're hot. But then you get to know somebody and all of a sudden you're like, wow, suddenly I think they're really hot now. And so that part of my brain goes like, yeah, I think people could be attracted to me based on who I am. But there's literally a part of my brain that thinks, if you don't know me, you see me in public, nobody could be attracted to that. And I know intellectually that's not true. That can't be true. There's some people attracted to every type of person. But that's that asshole voice I'm talking about in my head. It's like, oh yeah, there's no way anybody could be like physically attracted to you. You're fucking repulsive, dude.
Do you think about it only in physical terms, or are you thinking of something in your personality or in your state of mind?
No, almost physically, like I'm very happy with the person I am. And to clarify, not to in any way say I'm perfect or I don't have flaws or things that need to improve, but I'm very aware and always trying to be a better person and a kinder and always trying to improve as a person. But in general, I am very happy with who I am. I think I'm a good person. I've spent a lot of my life refining and improving myself mentally and spiritually and trying to become a better person and, you know, not react to things in a bad way. And so the unhappiness is almost purely physical.
Have you ever had somebody say, well, if it wasn't for your looks, I really think you're a good person? You know, like what if somebody confirmed what you think, but they actually cared about you as a person like you do?
So wait, you're saying, have I ever had somebody say...
Like you're telling me it seems like a contradiction kind of, because you feel you have some sense of healthiness towards yourself and
Right.
and like you like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what if you would accept somebody else to like you, that part of you, what if they like that part of you and they also didn't like the part of you that you didn't like?
Oh, wow. I don't know. 'Cause luckily that hasn't happened, at least I know of. No one's at least ever told me, yeah, you are physically repulsive, but you're cool.
Do you feel like, on the other hand, that maybe people are like, no, you look great and you're handsome and this and that, but they, maybe you're not getting the confirmation that they like you for who you are and the way that you do?
I don't think so. I do have, I know what you're saying because I definitely have this very paradoxical self-view in that I've always said I don't have low self-esteem. I think I'm fucking awesome, which is true. But weirdly, even though I believe that, I don't believe that applies to other people. Like I don't assume everybody else is also going to think I'm fucking awesome. I've always said I feel like an undiscovered treasure where I'm like, oh, hey, if you get to know me, you'll figure out that I'm really cool and awesome. But still have this weird insecurity of some reason assuming people aren't going to like me. And I don't know where that comes from. Don't know why that is. Because again, like I think I'm cool. So why do I assume other people are not going to think that? And I don't know the answer to that. But I do have I'm someone who generally doesn't want to bother anybody. So I can very much like keep to myself. And like, I'm not going to bother you. Like if you start talking to me, then yeah, I'll talk to you like we're old friends. I'll give as much as you give. But if not, I'm going to leave you alone. I'm not going to come up to you and be like, hey man, so tell me about what you doing, and start conversation because I'm just going to assume, oh, you probably want to be left alone. You don't want me bothering you.
Could that just be shyness?
Maybe.
Or
which
introspection, introversion?
Yeah. I mean, I know that, personality tests, from what I understand, are also bullshit. But for what it's worth, I do always come out literally like dead center of introvert, extrovert. And I feel that way because I feel like a pendulum swinging where, if I've been alone for too long, I'm like, oh, I like having some social time and seeing my friends or seeing people and hanging out. It's like, it's fun. But then after a few hours of that, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back home to my cave now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this constant balance swinging back and forth between those two of like, I definitely dig socializing and interaction with people I like hanging out with. But then I also really like my alone time of just recharging. And so,
Yeah.
there's a bit of that.
I'm the same for sure. How do you feel about other people? Like you meet someone new, are you basing things on a kind of external factor or looking at more the person they are, their personality?
That's a really good point because someone's worth to me is not based on their physicality. It's definitely who they are as a person. But I definitely find myself like I'll have thoughts that I feel bad about. Like if I'm just walking around public and I see somebody and I go like, oh, I don't find that person attractive, then I'm like, that was mean. But then I'm like, well, it wasn't mean. It was just a fact. I don't find that person attractive. Then the other part of me is like, yeah, but why do you gotta like draw attention to that fact?
Why you gotta open the mouth inside your head?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. It's almost like I can't help what I'm attracted to or not. It just is. But then that other part of me is like, that was a really shitty thing to think, man. Yeah, and it's probably because of my own insecurities that I feel bad for what I perceive as judging someone else, even though it's not really. Because again, I don't think less of them as a person, or I don't go like, yeah, I don't want to hang out or be friends with them. It's literally just the thought of me, but personally, I'm not attracted to that person. And I'm like judging that as a mean thought. It's so weird because we don't have control over that. We can't choose what we are or are not attracted to. It's just something in our programming.
Well, it can change too.
Yeah, yeah.
Has any of this affected your relationships, either because the way you were perceiving a person or the way you felt they were perceiving you?
No, that's not to mention, it's really weird that even though I have these feelings about myself or whatever, somehow that doesn't affect, like if somebody does say they're attracted to me, it's like I totally accept and believe that. And I'm like, how lucky am I? Great, this is awesome because I'm attracted to you too. This is perfect.
Does that make you feel better about yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, when you got somebody that loves you and thinks you're awesome, I mean, that's.
What about like could you imagine if somebody was in a relationship with you and they totally loved you for who you are, loved you physically and all that? Like, could you sustain that without feeling? Because you said that would make you feel great. Does that mean you would stop thinking of yourself in that negative way, or you would just think like they don't really have it right?
No, we would. I do believe. I would not think they don't have it right. It definitely quiets that voice down because, when I was in a relationship, it's like, wow, I have, one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life who has chosen to be with me and who apparently thinks I'm really attractive and super awesome. And that's great. I love that.
What if you're with somebody for a while and you no longer, you go in concerned about your weight, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you nothing to worry about. You feel great for a while. Then you get out of the relationship. Do you like wake up and look in the mirror and go like, oh, I got to take care of this now?
A little bit, because I guess part of me goes like, that was the exception. Like, oh, I found one who could see past the Shrek ogre to see what a beautiful person I am. But then, if once I'm out of that, and it's like, oh God, what are the chances of finding somebody else? I hate how unhappy it makes me. I really do. I really do subscribe to things people say, how you need to love yourself wherever you are right now. Again, Eckhart Tolle teaches, accept the present. Just be in the present. And whatever it is, accept it. If you have to change a tire in the rain, obviously you're not going to love that and be like, this is fun. But you can accept it and not be angry and like, this is bullshit, and goddamn, why is life always shit on me? And the thing I think a lot of people misconstrue, this actually in my last relationship, when we would have these, she had probably one of the worst cases of self-loathing of anyone I've ever met. Like, she really did not like herself. If you brought up the points like, okay, but everybody who meets you loves you and thinks you're amazing. Her retort to that was like, well, that's because I've got them fooled. They don't really know what a piece of shit I am. And she was self-aware enough to know that, to be aware of what she was doing. But in the same way, my self-awareness doesn't stop that voice. Her self-awareness didn't stop that voice. So when we have these talks about being accepting, then she'd be like, yeah, but then aren't I just stagnating? If I just accept who I am now, isn't that saying like, okay, well, I just accept this then and I don't need to change? I'm like, no, you can still have goals and want to change, but also accept where you are right now. Accepting it doesn't mean that you don't want to change it. Right. It just means it's not, you don't let it make you unhappy in this moment. You accept this moment and you still have this goal to change it. But hey, this is where I am right now, and that's okay.
What you're describing now is a kind of voice that that contradicts the earlier one. Yeah. You're talking about the kind of constant, critic in your head. Mm-hmm. So which one is more prominent, or is it just vacillating all the time?
Well, definitely the critic. I mean, the self-acceptance thing is again one of those things that I know intellectually is true, and that's what we should all work toward. In an optimal world, we have self-acceptance wherever we are. But that's really fucking hard for most people, I would think, including me. And so, yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things I work on is trying to be self-accepting and not succeeding very much, at least on the physical front.
Yeah.
And I think that's a common battle. I mean, it's the one I've seen a lot anyway.
Have you heard of the term narcissistic wound?
I haven't. I don't think I have.
I heard this from a therapist of mine at one point, and it was like, yeah, it's kind of the idea of the feeling of awesomeness, and at the same time, that kind of bitter critic, and feeling like your self-worth is being challenged, either by yourself or by others.
Yeah. So I was in therapy, and there's occasions when I can't even remember what caused me to think this or ask this, but there are times when I'd be like, yeah, man, sometimes I worry like, oh shit, am I a narcissist? And, my therapist would be like, well, if you're asking that question, then no, you're not. If you're worried about it, then no, you're not a narcissist because they don't worry about it or question whether they are. I was like, good point. I got to a point where therapy, I always loved it. I just loved having that, knowing I had that hour to go in and just talk every week or whatever. And there came a point, when she was like, honestly, I don't really think you need to be coming anymore. And I was like, well, yeah, but I like coming. She's like, well, all right, you want to try? What if we bump it down like every 2 weeks instead of every week? I said, all right, let's try that. And then what happened was she ended up taking another position where she stopped seeing private clients and became like sort of a head of a department or whatever. So she was like, well, I'm not going to be seeing clients anymore. If you want, I can work with you to find you a new therapist, whatever. And that was the point at which I was like, nah, I'll try. I think we can just, because at that point I felt like it was a luxury. I was doing it just because I liked it. It wasn't like, no, I need it. I have things I got to process and work out. So I felt like I'd gotten to a place where it was like, no, I just like having that talking space every couple of months. We can try it without. So that's why I stopped going to therapy. But again, it was nice to have a therapist basically be like, you don't really need to be coming here anymore. But
I had that same experience with my last therapist, which was like, I think we're done here. And I was like, wait, this ends?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I felt, because I feel like everybody could benefit from therapy forever. just because there's always something you can talk about or process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a travesty. I hate the fact that therapy is a luxury. I feel like it should be a basic need that everyone has access to. And it sucks that the people who need it the most probably don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ham and the Sims Foundation.
Hooray.
Taking care of musicians.
I thought maybe we've got the same therapist. Maybe that's her shtick. She gets tired of you and then just says, hey, you're doing great.
You're done here. In other words, I'm sick of your shit.
So what's this other issue you were talking about with envy, I think?
So, obviously, man, the entertainment industry is brutal, one. Two, I feel like it's almost a cruel joke that anybody who's in the entertainment industry or is a musician, an actor, probably an artist of any kind, is probably one of the more emotionally sensitive and volatile people. Not volatile in a bad way, but just we're very raw nerves, a lot of us artists. And then we're in this business that's judging you by looks and constantly telling you no, and you're going to get so much rejection. And it's just almost like the exact wrong kind of people for this industry. But a lot of people view success as like a limited resource. And so, especially like in the acting world where you'll go into an audition room and there's you and there's like these 10 other guys you constantly, well, back when we did actual auditions in person, now it's all video, so you don't see anybody. But, and there's a lot of people have this feeling like, oh, if me and you are up for the same role in something and you get it, well, you took that from me. You took my role, motherfucker. That was mine. God damn it. You took that from me. And I don't believe that. I believe that there's enough success in the world for everybody. I believe that success for anyone is good for everyone. But it's hard because, like, specifically, I have a friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. One of my best friends in the world is a guy named Brian Villalobos, who's an amazing actor and just amazing person. One of the most generous, good-hearted people you will ever meet in your life. Great actor who is killing it right now. I've never known anybody who works as much as he works. He is here in Austin working just full-time all the time, constantly in demand. And we've never had a problem in our relationship. Like, so we've always been like brothers. But there was a time when it was complicated for me because, of course, I would be happy that my friend Brian was having some success. And I'm like, that's great, awesome. But then there was this other part of me that's like, fuck, why is everything getting handed to Brian? It was the Amadeus Salieri situation. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why? Why has he been blessed with all the fruits of the gods while I get nothing? And so it's tough because I was genuinely happy for him, but then I'd feel really shitty going, why am I not getting these opportunities? Or why is he getting like every commercial he books and I'm getting nothing? I mean, I wouldn't generally say that to him. I would just try to present to him all right, kick ass, congratulations, that's awesome, man. But we're very honest with each other. And so sometimes, we'd get in deep philosophical conversations and things would come up. And, now he feels kind of bad for being successful because his friend feels shitty for not being successful. And then that kind of makes him not want to talk about stuff as much or, almost like, yeah, I booked this thing the other day, but that's one of the things I did work on over the years that I feel I've really made actual progress in is just being happy for my friend because he deserved it. Absolutely. I'm, his biggest fan and I think he deserves everything he's got and more. I was never mad at him. I was mad at the universe. I was like, why not me? Why am I not getting more? Or, all I want to do is this thing that I love. and I'm not being allowed to do it, and it sucks.
Was he the only person that you really felt this with, or do you find that you get that FOMO with others?
They used to be not just him. There's definitely certain people who, from my perspective, seemed to, just always just be blessed with this luck. And that's another thing where I know that's bullshit, though, because I also know I've found over the years that there's people who see me like that. There's people who go like, fucking Heath Allyn, man, he gets everything. He's like always getting cast and stuff. And he's like constantly in demand. And so it's like, it's all perspective. Where there's people who think I'm that guy. And especially, I love social media, but there's no denying that, as with anything, it's got its pros and it's got its cons. One of its cons is, I've always said, like, social media is like your greatest hits reel. Meanwhile, you see all your behind the scenes footage. Generally, you're not posting on social media like, had 9 auditions this week and didn't book any. Yeah.
Some people do that. And
It's true.
kind of intolerable.
Well, and I've tried to do more of that, to be more transparent, so that people who think, oh, Heath Allyn, he's in demand, everybody hires it. I do want people to have a more realistic picture, mainly because I don't want them being discouraged. Like, if somebody else is out there feeling bad, or like their career is in the gutter, or like, well, man, I must be shitty because Heath Allyn books everything and I don't book anything. I want them to know, like, no, I don't. My booking rate's in the fucking toilet right now. And it's because I want people to know the truth, and I want them to not. I don't want anyone else being discouraged by me. I only want to encourage people to do the thing they want to be doing, even if it's going to be fucking tough. Which is, one of the reasons why I try to be pretty transparent on social media, even though it's always this battle, because there is some truth to the adage about, like, sort of when you're in demand, you tend to be more in demand. I don't know why it works that way. It just does.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that goes like, am I hurting my own career by being transparent and being like, man, nobody's hiring me right now? Does that then make me appear less hireable and make less people hire me? I don't know, but I just know that's how I want to live, though. I want to live truthfully and honestly. I don't want to curate an image. I don't want to be like, well, I want my social media to appear like I'm this uber successful, everything going for me dude, because that's going to be the most beneficial for me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to curate something. I don't want it to be something fake. I want my social media and my online presence in general to be an accurate representation of who I am, warts and all facets of me. That's what I want. I definitely live on social media and post so much. I do feel like it's largely for me, which is why when I went slightly viral with these mashups I was doing, there was this moment in time where it's like, oh shit, things are blowing up for me right now. I just got a big influx of followers. I've got these videos, they're doing like millions of views. And I made a conscious choice at that moment that I'm like, to not seize that opportunity in a way. Basically, I made a conscious choice, like, you know what? For me, social media is a creative sandbox where I just throw everything out there, no matter how stupid or mundane or silly or profane. I'm just like, it's the place where I can just spill detritus from my brain into the world. And I love that.
Do you love that in others? Because I find that's the sort of challenge of social media. Yeah, it's fun to do that, but then it's like, do I want to see anybody else's shit?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to really analyze. I think I do, because like generally I follow people that, like, I feel like I just like as people. counter to that example, there's people who I genuinely like as people and who are my friends, but who I don't necessarily like what they post on social media. So maybe I have them hidden from my feed. I take no offense if somebody doesn't follow me because I'm just not like, I don't want to see all his stupid fucking music videos or his whatever, you know. I'm going to use it the way I want to use it. And then the right people will find me. The people who dig that, they'll dig it. And the people who won't will hide me from their feeds.
When you say the right people will find you, do you ultimately look at it as a marketing tool, or is it just a creative outlet?
Primarily a creative outlet. I do obviously I'm aware of it as a marketing tool, and I try to use it for that. You know, like I definitely post about every band show I'm doing and things like that. I still want it to be personal though, because I do have friends who only use it as marketing, and I find I don't want to follow their feeds because I'm like, I follow you because I like you. I want to see what my friend is doing, what you are saying. I don't want to just be basically a commercial. I don't just want to be being fed ads, basically.
Yeah.
I want a personal something to it. I'm following people because of the people. So yes, I care about what you're doing as well. But if all I'm getting from you is nothing personal, then suddenly I'm like, it just doesn't feel good. I don't feel like your friend.
Yeah.
I just feel like you are an ad network and I am targeted by your ad network.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
It is. And that's, one I try to walk it. But it is tough because a big part of my life is being a musician. So of course I'm going to promote all my shows. It's a big part of how I spend my time and what I do.
Do you find yourself in any parasocial relationships?
Oh yeah, totally.
I find that's always kind of disturbing because I feel like I'm right on the edge of becoming a stalker. You know, it's like, hey, I'm in Milwaukee. What you doing? You make such funny videos. What are you, 18? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've encountered that both ways now too. And that like, there's definitely the people who I follow, or even celebrities or comedians or whatever, who like, I feel like I know. Like, oh, this seems so cool. I think we'd be really good friends. We'd really get along.
Yep.
And they don't know who the fuck I am. But conversely, it still takes me by surprise when like sometimes I'll respond to a comment or I'll respond to a message and then somebody will act like I'm a celebrity. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded to me. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I did. Why wouldn't I respond to you?
I know I've had people like, compliment me on my films or something. I'm like, films? What? You're like, yeah, the videos you make. What? That one? You mean the one like welcome reel I made? It gets.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely put personality in your stuff, and you can do some, quirky stuff that has character to it. That's not just like you said, like here's the sandwich I ate for lunch. And I do feel like obviously you can't fully know somebody from their even a celebrity, but I mean, I feel like you kind of can. I mean, like, I've listened to God knows how many episodes of WTF with Mark Maron. I feel like I know Mark Maron pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Mark Maron doesn't know me at all. So
Right. But do you? Does anyone know Mark Maron? I know someone who knows Mark Maron.
Do you really?
But that doesn't affect you like the same way it does with your friend. Like where you're just scrolling and feeling worse and worse, and like everybody's got some amazing career or social
I guess
presence.
not, because those people seem far away from me somehow, as opposed to my friend is like, we're in the same circles. We audition for the same stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But see, that's another way in which I've turned that around. And I told him this the other day, actually, a few weeks ago, where I've turned that around now into being a positive, where I'm like, well, that's great, because that means like there's someone I'm that close to who's doing all this cool shit. That makes it all the more tangible for me and possible. Like, oh, it's not like, oh, well, some celebrity I don't know is in his movie. It's like, no, that's my fucking friend who's doing this cool project. That could be me.
Yeah.
So you can look at it as that way too, of being like, it is possible. It's like I'm one step away from that. So I try to focus on that positive aspect of it. Let it inspire me and be like, hey, man, if that can happen for him, it could happen for me.
If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere.
Again, taking it back, I feel like auditions are a really good symbol of this. Like I could go on 10 auditions. I could book 9 of those auditions. And of course, it's that one that you're going to focus on. Why didn't they want me? Why the fuck didn't they want to book me? What could I have done different there? It's like, what about the other 9 you booked? Yeah, cool. But that one, what the fuck's up with that?
Is your main work music or acting or neither?
Definitely music right now. The acting, ever since, at least my acting career has never recovered from lockdown. It's been real crappy for me ever since. It's, still doing it, but music is what keeps me the busiest by far. So that's nice. And the acting was weird because it flip-flopped. There was a time when I had a real high booking rate for industry standard. And
commercial or film or both?
It's mostly commercials here in Austin, but that's just because it's the most of what comes through here. But I do, other films and stuff as well. So I think part of what changed with that is when everything went to video auditions, is I just think there's so much more competition now than you were facing before. Because everybody videos will go, there's actors in LA that will audition for Austin projects. So I just think we're all up against a lot bigger numbers than we used to be. Because I remember when it was all in-person stuff, I had a different hot button issue, which is, unfortunately, there is a core group of very professional talent in Austin who would absolutely hold their own against anybody from LA, New York, whatever. But there are also less professional people. And so I've known of productions that come here and it's kind of a crapshoot. Like sometimes they'll see the really good people and they'll be like, oh my God, man, there's amazing talent in Austin, like really amazing talent. But then sometimes they would come here and things would happen like people just don't show up for auditions. Like they even cancel. They just don't show up. Like, weren't we supposed to see so-and-so at 2:00? Yeah, they're not here. Okay, well, that sucks. And, stuff like that, where I'm just like, to me, that's unthinkable. Like, I would never just not show up to an audition. That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you see those people, then that gives our industry a bad name. Because you're like, yeah, they got a bunch of, weekend amateurs in Austin who don't even know to staple their headshots and resumes together. So it's kind of like, depending on who you saw, you might be really impressed or not.
Here's a question I ask all my guests is, what of any of the things we talked about would you consider the benefits?
The first thing came to my mind is back to my self-awareness, because at least I know what's going on. It doesn't always empower me to fix something or not have a certain flaw or problem, but at least I always see it. Even in a moment, like sometimes, I can be a very passionate individual who can be very strong-willed and very strongly opinionated. And sometimes that can come across in a certain way, and especially like in band situations. Sometimes I will immediately look back and be like, all right, I didn't react as well as I could have to this thing. And so I can at least, apologize or be like, hey, look, here's what I was saying. I didn't mean this. So I think just being self-aware helps, because at least then you can be like, oh yeah, that was shitty of me, or I could do better in the future, or let me try to be a better person when handling this thing. It's hard to improve if you're not aware of your flaws.
Yeah.
So that's probably, the biggest gift, even if it doesn't solve everything. At least I can usually see my own bullshit.
Some people can't see it or smell it or anything.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to?
Oh, nothing jumping to mind, man. I mean, it was great. It was a fun talk.
Yeah, it was great talking with you. What do you have? What do you have coming up? Anything? Any gigs you want to promote? Assuming I get this out in the next year.
Well, the biggest one is again the debut of Fab, Austin's premier Beatles tribute band. April 12th at El Mercado is our first like full night. We'll be playing our full 3-hour set. So that's like our full debut is April 12th at El Mercado. Cool. And then Yacht Z, our yacht rock band, we usually play the first Saturdays out at the Boat. We are taking the summer off this year because it just gets too fucking hot in June through August to play outside.
Yes.
So we're trying this year to see what happens to take June through August off and see if maybe we can book some indoor gigs somewhere. But other than those months, March, April, May will be at the Boat, and then September, October, November will be at the Boat. Everything is online, yachtzrock.com, heathallyn.com, Heath Allyn everywhere, Trick being HeathAllyn.
Why?
That'll throw you.
Why? Because it's not E.
Exactly. But yeah, you type in my name to any search engine and you will be overwhelmed with the amount of shit I put on the internet.
Nice. Well, all right. I'd like to thank my guest, Heath Allyn, once again for the conversation. And thank you for listening. You can check out Heath at heathallyn.com, HeathAllyn, as well as pretty much every social media outlet. I'll put some links in the show notes. He's kind of everywhere. And if you'd like to help support Friends with Deficits, please check out patreon.com/friendswithdeficits. You can also go to our website, join our mailing list, check us out on all the socials, and tell your friends about the show. Once again, I'm Adam Sultan. Stay fab.